Ladies and gentlemen, right now the Middle East stands at one of the most dangerous moments in modern history. What began as a series of conflict between regional powers is now turning into something much bigger, a confrontation involving global powers, strategic alliances, and a region that could soon pull the entire world into its storm. At the center of this escalation lies a growing confrontation between Iran, Israel, and the United States. In recent months, military strikes, missile attacks, and retaliations have intensified across the region. Airstrikes have targeted military facilities. Missiles have struck cities. Drones have attacked strategic infrastructure. And every retaliation pushes the region closer to a wider war. What makes the situation extremely dangerous is not just the fighting itself. It is the possibility that many other countries could get involved. Across the Middle East, alliances and rivalries run deep. Groups aligned with Iran operate in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. If these groups fully enter the war, the conflict could rapidly expand beyond a single battlefield. Israel would not only face attacks from Iran, but potentially from multiple directions. And if American bases in the region come under sustained attack, the United States would almost certainly respond with full military force. This is how regional wars grow into much larger conflicts. History has shown us this pattern again and again. The World War I began with a single assassination and quickly dragged dozens of countries into a global catastrophe. The World War II began with regional aggression and escalated into the deadliest war humanity has ever seen. Today, the Middle East sits on a similar fault line. But beyond geopolitics and military strategy, we must remember the most important reality of war: the human cost. In the ongoing fighting across the region, tens of thousands of lives have already been lost. In Gaza Strip alone, more than 70,000 people have reportedly been killed, and millions have been displaced from their homes. Entire neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble. Hospitals struggle to function. Families are forced to flee with nothing but what they can carry. Children grow up surrounded not by schools and playgrounds, but by destruction. And war does not just destroy lives. It destroys the environment as well. Bombings release toxic chemicals into the air and soil. Destroyed infrastructure contaminates water supplies. Oil fires, burning buildings, and military debris create pollution that can last decades. The environmental damage caused by modern warfare is often invisible at first, but its consequences remain for generations. But the impact of this conflict is not limited to the Middle East. It could shake the entire global economy. One of the most strategic locations in the world lies in this region, the Strait of Hormuz. Nearly 20% of the world's oil supply passes through this narrow waterway every single day. If the war expands and this route is blocked or attacked, global energy prices could skyrocket overnight. Shipping lanes could close. Supply chains could collapse. And economies around the world would feel the shock. But beyond economics, something even larger may be unfolding: a shift in global power. For decades, the international system has been shaped largely by Western influence, particularly the United States and its allies. But the global balance of power is changing. International relations experts describe this moment using a concept known as power transition theory. This theory suggests that when rising powers begin to challenge dominant powers, periods of instability and conflict often follow. We have seen this pattern before. After the World War I, several European empires collapsed. After the World War II, the global system shifted toward two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. And after the Cold War ended in 1991, the United States emerged as a dominant global power. But today, that dominance is increasingly being challenged. The rapid rise of China as an economic superpower and the geopolitical ambitions of Russia have already begun reshaping international politics. If the Middle East conflict grows into a prolonged and exhausting war, it could weaken existing alliances and stretch military and economic resources. And when dominant powers become distracted by extended conflicts, rising powers often gain influence. This is not speculation. It is a pattern that is repeated throughout history. Great wars do not just change borders. They change the structure of the world. They redefine alliances. They reshape global leadership. And sometimes they create entirely new world orders. This is why the current Middle East crisis worries so many analysts. Because if the war spreads across the region, involving multiple countries and global powers, it could become one of the defining geopolitical events of the 21st century. A conflict that redraws alliances, a conflict that destabilizes energy markets, a conflict that shifts the balance of power. But beyond all the theories, strategies, and predictions, there is one reality that must never be forgotten. Every war is fought by human beings. Every missile strike affects families. Every destroyed city represents thousands of lost dreams. History may analyze wars in terms of strategy and power, but for those living through them, war is simply tragedy. The question facing the world today is not just who will win or lose. The question is whether the world will act before this conflict spirals into something far larger. Because if the Middle East truly descends into a regional war involving multiple nations, the consequences could reshape the global order for decades to come. And when future generations look back at this moment in history, they may ask one simple question. Could it have been prevented? Or was the world already too far down the path of conflict? Only time will tell. But right now, the world stands at a crossroads, and the choices made today may determine the shape of tomorrow's world.